Okay, what's happening, everybody? Today we're going to do Lab Exercise 6, Excel Fundamentals Part 2. So what today's all going to be about is learning about how to write basic formulas and functions and what happens when we copy them versus when we use autofill versus when we cut and paste them. So let's get to it. First thing we're going to do is open a new Excel file and create some formulas. All right, so you can see over here, earlier, we had done some entries in cells where we just typed in numbers, but if you want to have a cell hold a formula, you start off with the equals character. All right, so here, these first three cells, let's zoom in a little bit, just a little. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to start off doing value 1, value 2, and value 3. Okay, just ordinary text. In cells B1, B2, B3, I'm going to write 1, 10, and 100. Now in A5, I'm going to write sum formula. We're going to have a few different ways where we look at how to write sums. So I'm going to stretch out the columns here. Grab that. Okay. Now, first formula we're going to do in B5, we're going to enter equals B1 plus B2 plus B3. That basically says take the numbers in these three cells, add them together, and put that as the result, right? So it'll be 111. Ta-da. Okay, in A6, we're going to do a different one. We're going to do a sum function, number 1. And the first one, we're just going to add the three cells separately. So B1, comma, B2, comma, B3. Okay, and hit enter. By the way, these cell references, they are not case sensitive, so you don't have to type capital B. You can just do lowercase b. Excel won't know the difference. It'll automatically convert it eventually. Okay, we get the same number adding those three cells. Another way to do it, sum function 2, we're going to add a range of cells. So I'm going to select these three, and B1 colon B3, that means the entire range of those cells is going to add up all those three values in them. And once again, not surprisingly, we get 111. Now, interesting thing, when you change rows or columns, some of these formulas will change, some of them won't. For example, let's put in a new empty row. All right, so click on the 2 here in the left column and do Alt-I and R to insert a row. Okay, next thing we're going to do is do Control tilde. So tilde is just above the tab key in like the upper left corner of your keyboard. If we press that, then we can see all the formulas. And you see, these three, they all change somehow. So the first one, instead of being B1 plus B2 plus B3, now it's B1 plus B3 plus B4. Well, that's fine. It references those same cells. Same thing here, B1 plus B3 plus B4 for our formula here. Yeah, that's what we want. But this one, because we inserted an extra row and we had a range, it inserted a new value, right? So if I entered something here in this one, it would affect that. If I did, I don't know, 222, okay, and I block it out, these first two don't change, but the last one does. All right, so it's just something to be careful with when you're adding in new rows or new columns. It can affect ranges, but it generally won't affect single cell references. Okay. Now, next thing we're going to talk about copying, cutting, and pasting. Okay, so excuse me. The key thing to remember is copying. Excel is going to assume you want to maintain the same relationship with cells that you had before. If you're talking about cutting, Excel, what I mean the same relationship, right? We'll give an example here. So over in C8, okay, I'm going to undo that change I did. Over in C8, I'm going to enter the formula equals sum C2 to C6. Okay. Now, let's do Control tilde so I can see the functions. If I take this function, and you can see it references these 5 cells a little bit above C8. If I copy it with Control C and then paste it over here, this formula, the formulas will change, right? So in this cell, I'm going to get the sum of these 5 cells. Okay, that's what happens when you copy it. That's what I mean when it says it wants to preserve the existing relationship. It says for this one, hey, take the 5 cells a little bit above this one. And for this one, same thing, take the sum of the 5 cells a little bit above it. But if you cut and paste, so I do Control X and then paste it here, then it'll say, oh, you want to refer to the same cells, You're just moving the place on the worksheet where that result is going to appear. Okay, so that's the assumption built into Excel, is that copying, it's going to maintain the same relative position of the result you have versus the original cells. If you're cutting and pasting a formula, Excel is going to assume you still want to refer to the exact same cells you did before. You're just putting that result in a different place on your worksheet. Okay, and autofill works like copying. Okay, so we'll give a new example of that. So we'll make a new worksheet, hit this plus here, boom, and we're going to enter in some data A1 to A7 here. So I'm just going to type all these in. There's a bit here in the exercise where it says you can copy from the Word document, but there's no Word document anymore. So that was something we missed in the editing. Such is life. Okay, so total cost for each item, right? We have a formula here for total cost, all right? And D2, we're going to enter as the number of units in stock times the unit cost. So in this case, it's going to be B2 times C2. Let's zoom in a little bit again. That worked pretty well last time, I feel. I'll go up to 150. Okay, so over here, we're going to do equals B2 times C2. Okay, and the result, 48 times $1.50, yeah, $72. That's fine. I'm going to do the tilde thing so we can see what happens. Okay, so obviously, if we do a total cost for any item, we'd like to set it up so that this cell refers to this product, and this cell refers to this product, and this cell refers to this product, and so on. Okay, and that's how autofill is going to do it. So I hover the cursor over the corner till it turns into a little black cross, and then I drag it down, and boom, you can see all those cell references change, right? So this one hits its two cells on the left, this one its two on the left, this two, and so on. Okay. So that's the default way that it works. And we can undo this. I'm going to show you just same thing with copying. You can do Control C and paste and paste and paste and paste and paste. Same thing. Okay. However, if you use Control X, right? If you use cut here, so suppose I do Control X and paste the result. Aha! Now it still refers to those same two original cells. Okay. I'm going to undo that, get things back to where they were. All right. Now, again, let's see. Copying. That's fine. We're going to live with that. Okay. So we got some new functions. Okay. We're going to do a few of them. Look at the big tab here. So if you go to formulas here on the main strip there, you can see a few common groupings, right? Financial, logical, text. We'll do some of those, but not too many of them because, we only have a few Excel exercises. Okay, some easy ones, max. All right, so max function gives the highest numeric value from a set of cells. So if in C9 here, right here, we did max, and then in D9, enter the formula equals max D2 to D7, and close out those parentheses, then boom, that applies the max function to this range. And if I go back and see in the right control tilde to go out of that view, I can look at these numbers and quickly eyeball and say, yep, 412.16, that's the biggest number, and there it is. Okay, so we do another one. We'll do an average, AVG, and then in D10 equals average of D2 to D7, and that gives the average number. Okay. So anyway, there's a bunch of simple mathematical ones. If you don't like the number of decimal places, I mean, I feel 2 is pretty good. But if you ever want to change that and go to like say 0, you can use this 2 zeros down to 1 0. If you want to add more, you have here 1 0 to 2 zeros. Okay, so that adds a decimal place. Last action, the concat function. Okay, so in E2, we're going to do some stuff. Let's do here equals concat A2, comma, forward slash, comma, B2, comma, forward slash, comma, C2, comma, forward slash, comma, D2. So what the concatenation function does is it simply runs all that text together. So here we're going to see 1/48/$50/$72 once I hit enter. And boom, there it is. Okay, so 3 basic functions you just learned: max, average, and concat, which are all pretty useful. Okay. Now, next thing, we're going to introduce relative and absolute addressing. Okay, so the difference between those is what happens when a cell reference is copied to a new cell. Okay, relative addressing works the way copying does. Okay, so if you copy the formula to a new cell and that formula references other cells, when you put that in a new cell, the formula is going to reference new cells. Okay, so let's do an example here. Over in K2, or K3 rather, I'm going to write the formula equals K2. Okay, now if I copy, let's do the tilde. Okay, so if I copy K2 over to K3 over to M3, right, it's going to refer to the cell above, just like K3 did. Okay. Now, one thing you'll often see is that cell references, if they're being used in many different places on a worksheet, it's good to put certain data in one cell and let every other formula reference it, right? That obviously makes it easier to edit. So we're going to do this example. Suppose you have a commission system where every sales associate earns a 5% commission on all the jewelry they sell. Okay, so you might have a spreadsheet with a list of all the jewelry that a person has sold. And yeah, you could write an equation, a formula for each one of those jewelry sales and multiply it by 5% and get the result, and that'll work. But imagine if that commission changes and you have to edit that. That could be a big pain, right? And it's also easy to make mistakes. So it's much better to do something like this. Okay, so we're going to put our commission rate over here. We're going to do this up in F2. Okay, 5%. Ta-da, 0.05, same thing. And we're going to put some of our data over here. Okay, so we're going to have item, sale price. Worksheet will get a little crowded, not too bad though. Whoop, 2 S's in commission. I know. Okay, typing's hard. Let's see, our items, DHT-014, sale price 4,500. Okay, DHT-013, sale price. Okay, wonder why those aren't going. I'm gonna make them currency. There we go. Dollars. U is all dollars. Why won't you be dollars? Oh, because I'm in that function. Nah, no wonder. Okay. FHT 003 500. Okay, we're gonna do FHT-003. Ooh, this one sold for a little less. 1250. Okay, EHX 001 sold for 3,000. And last EHX 002 sold for 2,500. Okay, now for each of these in the commission, right, I can just multiply the sale price times F2. Okay, so equals G6 times F2. Now we have a problem the way this is done. If I just copy the formula, right, this is going to be by 0. This is, instead of referring to F2, this cell is going to refer to F3, which is blank and is treated as a 0. So I need a way to tell Excel that this formula isn't going to change, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say the row doesn't change. I'm going to put a $sign in front of it. And when I copy this column, copy this cell to a new cell, then that 2 is going to stay the same. That's absolute addressing. I'm always going to be referring to row 2 when I copy this. All right, so I copy that down. Aha, look, it still refers to F2. I could do the same thing with the F column, but of course, this is all in the same column, so none of that's going to be affected. Right, and I go back and I look at the results, and look at that, those commissions turned out well. Okay, let's see. Next thing, last thing, VLOOKUP. So the VLOOKUP function lets you find a matching entry within a table. Okay, so we're going to put this this table in starting in case 6. So right here, we're going to do quantity and unit price. 1, 5, 10, 25, 50. And the unit price will be 100, 95, 90, 85, 80. Okay, and we'll put dollar signs on all of them. Okay, so we have that. Now we're going to use VLOOKUP, and then I'll explain how VLOOKUP works. Okay, L13, put the quantity, K13, number between 1 and 100. Okay, so K13, let's put in a number, I say 26. Okay, and we're going to see what discount we make. And then L3, we're going to put the quantity dependent unit price. So we have a formula here that says, our table says, here's how much these things cost depending on the quantity. So if we only buy one, it's $100. If we buy 5 of them, they're 95 each. If we buy 10 of them, they're $90 each, and so on. So we get some kind of bulk discount. So over here in L13, we're going to put the quantity dependent unit price. Okay, so first we're going to look it up. Okay, and the three things that go into VLOOKUP are number one, the lookup value, which in this case is just this quantity. Number two, the table array, right? Which here, this is what this is. And I could hit F4 to make it all absolute. So I always refer to that same range of cells, even if I have a different VLOOKUP function, somewhere else, right? If I copy it. Okay, and then the other thing is the column index number, the value that I'm going to return. Well, the left column is number 1, the right column is number 2. If there were another column to the right, that would be number 3. So what this VLOOKUP does is it scans through the table and basically says, I want to get the biggest number that is equal to or less than whatever I'm looking up. All right, so I start here, 26 is greater than 1. Okay, let's check that next one. 26 is greater than 5. That's fine. I'm going to check the next one. 26 is greater than 10. Okay, 26 is greater than 25. Yeah, it's still there. 26 is less than 50. Okay, so I'm going to stop here at 25. This is the value I'm going to return. All right, and when I hit enter, I get 85. That's my unit price. Okay, easy. Now, if I wanted to multiply it, right, to get the total order price, I could just do K13 times L13. Okay, oh, I got to do equals. Okay, ta-da. Now, let's check some of this out, some easy ones, right? So if I did 9, right, if I did 10 orders will be $90 each. The total cost will be $900. Ta-da. If I do 5, there will be $95 each. So the total cost should be $475 if my math is right. There it is. If I buy 2, right, I don't get that bulk discount at all. The unit price is going to be 100. Ta-da. If I buy 4, same thing's going to happen, right? I'm going to scan through this table. 4 is at least 1. But it's not 5, so I stop at this row, and that's the one I'm going to use. So 4 would get me 400 here as an order price. Okay. So that's what the VLOOKUP does. It is a very, very, very useful thing to do. It's one of, the very simple but very basic things very powerful things you see in Excel. If you have some large batch of data and you want to look up a value in it, VLOOKUP and its, horizontal transpose one, HLOOKUP, are very, very, very useful. Okay, and that's all we got for now. Thanks for your attention. Bye.